All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pete is gone tonight. All the other members are accounted for. So if we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just one item to remove off the agenda, and that's on our scheduled presenters. The senior center was not able to make it here tonight, so we're going to go ahead and take that off. With that, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Luke with motion, Jolyn on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. All right, scheduled presenters. We're going to turn it over to Reed. What do you got?
Thanks, everybody. I'll just talk quickly about some highlights of the letter that was included in your pack and what they sent. As I haven't updated the video, but I did find a supportive video from last year that we can watch here as well. Couple of big things here is their 9th through 12th grade governance that is starting new this year. The biggest impact that it'll have for us here at Cannon Falls is we're going to have to not allow 6th grade participation in any of our individual sports this year like we have had in the past. And the main reason for that could be is, and we really won't have this finalized until August, is we're really looking at how we're going to identify and name all of those levels. The biggest change with this 9th through 12th grade governance is the way it was written before, and nobody followed it, is if you were a junior high kid that got pulled up to a C level, everything was great, but you couldn't have any more of this back and forth and back and forth. So if now, as we move forward, if somebody gets moved up to a C or a JV level from that 7th or 8th grade, that's not part of the 9th through 12th grade governance, they can go up and that's fine. If they want to go back, that's fine, but there's no more moving for the remainder of that year for that program. So part of us as ADs, as we take a look at with some of our programming that maybe doesn't have 5 levels, maybe they only have 3, how can we create more flexibility for them? Maybe we need to call something a varsity, a JV, and maybe that 7 or 8 now becomes a C level so that we can have some more of that fluctuation. There's supposed to be a glossary of terms that we're supposed to be getting from the high school league. We haven't gotten that yet. So we as HVL, and again, we've been working with Three Rivers Conference as well as the Gopher Conference, because those are our main non-conference opponents. We want it to be the same. And so if we call ours C, and they don't, and they stay at a 7 or 8, that even brings a whole other set of challenges with that. So we're going to try to be consistent in how we're going to look at that, and just unfortunately, if it becomes more of that C on up, it removes 6th graders automatically. So we're just going to have to do that moving forward. In that letter, they included their purpose and their mission and their beliefs, their mission statement. Minnesota State High School League provides educational opportunities for students through interscholastic athletic and fine arts programs and provides leadership and support for member schools. I want to touch on that. They talked about the number of coaches and officials that is taking through their state tournaments and fine art festivals. We currently have 18 of our programs, both athletic and activities, competing in Minnesota State High School League tournaments. They touched on the rise of 2 programs in regards to boys volleyball and girls wrestling. Girls wrestling has impacted us only from 2 years ago. It was sections 1 through 4 were at this location, and sections 5 through 8 were at that location. Last year was the first year of each section had their own, and that was down at Century, I believe, and that's going to continue, and that's going to be something that's only going to grow. So that, moving on, They touched on in that letter briefly, I don't know if you saw this, evidenced by the growing number of educational models for students across the state, and how they want to approach that online student and what that's going to look like in regards to activities. They're part of an ad hoc committee, and they're going to be making recommendations moving forward. But really, other than this is all that we've really received is, we know it's a problem, we're talking about it, we'll have something for you, but we've yet to have that. Together we make a difference, and that's something that you'll see more discussed in the video. This is not anything that, we did not attend this last year, only for the simple fact of 2 years ago we went to Rochester, and it just, there wasn't enough substance to it here as of yet. But what we are doing as a HVL conference this year, we are going to have something in September at CASIP, where we're going to take a number of our students as well as a handful of our coaches to go and have something as an HVL conference that we're going to work on there. And lastly, just that, you know, the membership for the high school league is growing over 600, and again, that's those member schools, that includes those, the home schools that are cooperative programs with us or anybody else. They need to be a member school to make that happen. So, any questions really about that letter or anything?
Just, I had one on the ninth grade governance. Does that put any of our sports at jeopardy of just not having enough numbers? Just
No.
Because I know, because track has had sixth graders run, right?
Right.
And
we had a
maybe
spike
soccer.
this year. Not soccer.
Not soccer.
Tennis, but if we're already looking at, everybody else in HVL already does varsity and JV. So we've been unique in regards to trying to make something happen for junior high. So there will be a little ripple effect, and we'll have to take a look at what that could be. That could be maybe more of a JV and a C, kind of to be determined what that's gonna look like. Cross country is another one, and numbers are low in that program, but removing sixth grade won't be that big of an impact at cross country.
Do you know the average amount per year for sixth graders that
No.
participate?
No.
Is there any schools in any of the conferences that we play against that they have removed middle school sports yet?
No.
No, everyone's.
Byron talked about it, but that did not happen.
Good.
And we are the only HVL that has allowed sixth grade participation.
We're the only ones that has? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. We have, and it's been predominantly in our individual, but we have allowed it in our team, such as junior high girls basketball if numbers were low, or if in softball, junior high softball, if those numbers were low. But that's been a number of years.
Sure.
Maybe I missed this, and I thought Clint was asked, has anybody in the conference gone to club sports in middle school?
No,
No, okay.
not yet. You know, I'll give you an example of Red Wing has not officially applied for membership to the conference yet, but that is something that, as a Big Nine model, that they don't offer, and they know that that's something that they would need to change moving forward. Sure. So, but no other than Byron having a discussion of whether that could be a cut for that program based off what they were needing to accomplish. That was something that they considered, but only briefly.
And you're hoping to have this all resolved before fall sports? So,
Well, a bunch of us wanted to have it done, but because we couldn't really get anything from the high school league, we're gonna meet here first part of August again.
okay.
Unless, you know, the only way that would get moved up is if the high school league shares that glossary of terms with us.
Sure.
Because the other piece of that is, we can name it whatever we want, we can all agree to that, but if the high school league isn't gonna recognize how we're doing that, then all we're doing is creating change with confusion.
Right.
If that was something where that age group had to fall off, is club sports, is that the only option then there?
For sixth grade, yes.
For that age group?
Yeah. For sixth grade,
Okay.
yep. And when the fifth graders came up and did their, the day where they had their,
Mhm.
Orientation.
thank
Yeah.
you, orientation.
Yeah.
And they came to the office, I said, I just want everybody to be prepared. If you're part of CFYA or JO or AAU or anything like that, you need to be focusing on that those are what your opportunities are gonna be this year,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Each board has to be trained in the Minnesota State High School League, and part of that training is watching a video. And so, this is last year's version of it. They did not upgrade it. They've been updating about every 2 years or so. So, good stuff though.
Great popcorn.
It's all about sportsmanship, right? Coaches coach, officials officiate, our players play, and our fans cheer. That is the partnership that we're looking forward to. It's all around safety, it's all around sportsmanship, but it's all around having a great time in our facilities.
The Minnesota State High School League is a dynamic partnership of more than 600 schools, reaching all communities and corners of the state. Our mission is to provide educational opportunities in fine arts and athletics for all students. Everything we do is focused on supporting, growing, and improving our students' experiences through activities. As we move into a new school year, our ongoing work is focused on 3 main efforts. Our top priority is to promote and support safe, respectful, and inclusive environments for participation and competition. We want all of our high schools to provide activities and events that are free from discrimination, harassment, and marginalization. That's why the Minnesota State High School League recently led a collaborative effort of 7 educational organizations across the state. Together We Make a Difference was designed to amplify the voices and advance the vision of our students to ensure respectful and safe schools and environments.
After attending the conference, I really hope that as a small school we're more inclusive and we include everybody and that everybody gets to be involved in finding what they enjoy. The code of conduct was basically treating everybody with respect, the same respect you want to receive. Being kind, not like being rude to somebody because they're not from the same background as you, like ethnics, religion, be inclusive.
It's important to feel safe because within that you're able to perform the way you want to and you're able to give the results you want to. In my personal opinion, when I'm not comfortable, I'm not giving all I can.
Playing in an environment where you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you're going to be playing at your best because you don't have to worry about other distractions.
It takes a team of dedicated adults to provide the kind of programming our students deserve. That's why we're focused on recruiting, retaining, and supporting our coaches, officials, and administrators.
As an education-based activities director, there's nobody more important than the coach or advisor for our students, whether it's in the fine arts or athletics, because we know that each child is one caring adult away from changing their path of their life.
If you look at or listen to any successful person talk about how they got there, they never did it alone. There's always a mentor, and so we need those types of leaders in our schools today to help our young people understand what it means to be a strong, supportive person within their community.
I enjoy officiating for the people that I work with. The camaraderie with them is the thing that makes it enjoyable. There's coaches that make it enjoyable. There are students that make it enjoyable. We're somebody to help make the game better. We're there to make the athletic contest better.
We're always looking for new officials. I think just from gaining awareness and visibility on the role of officiating and how important it is. So definitely I encourage anybody that is interested in officiating to reach out, and we have a lot of resources and a team to help out.
Sometimes the most enduring lessons our students learn happen through activities beyond the classroom. So it's our goal to focus on enhancing the education of students through a broad range of opportunities that extend the traditional curriculum.
When alumni come and talk to me, the one thing I always hear is, they remember those big moments, but they also remember what led up to them. Everything that they've done to prepare and how those coaches and those experiences have helped prepare them.
High school activities or extracurricular activities are often where students see themselves and find the greatest version or the best version of themselves. And so they are essential in terms of what we try to accomplish in really raising the whole child at our schools.
At the Minnesota State High School League,
It's about more than membership. It's about partnership. Because when our member schools commit to common principles and expectations, we all share the responsibility to provide safe, respectful, and inclusive activities for all of our students.
To do our best for student athletes and participants, we need to be good partners to one another and collaborate with other schools and the Minnesota State High School League. Every single one of us has an important role to play in making sure that our students have the very best opportunities and experiences when they are participating in activities.
There's good people that care about kids and want what's best for them. I'm just super excited about where we are and also where we can go and continue to have these conversations to provide great high school experiences for kids.
Nothing is more important than the well-being of our students, and participation in activities is a great way to enhance our students' overall health.
I think it's really, really important that every high school student finds something to be involved in. Finding some way to get involved in your school and in your community is so important. It not only positively benefits your mental health, but helps you improve as a person, helps you grow, helps you make connections with other people.
These activities have helped shape who I am because it makes me understand the importance of being in something, and it has helped me for the future because these activities help you gain skills such as time management and communication.
Giving students these valuable opportunities is the mission of the Minnesota State High School League. And looking around the state this year, we've seen high participation numbers, packed venues, and enthusiastic support from school communities. And together, we have a bright future ahead. On behalf of the Minnesota State High School League, I want to thank everyone in all of our member schools for your continued active support. Because it's about more than membership, it's about partnership.
Remind me, do the kids get to watch this video too?
I don't think this is this video.
It's a good video.
We have in past embedded it into our athletic registration for parents
Yeah,
to
what is
be
it,
able
like
to see.
coach parent
Yeah.
meet night or whatever
Yep.
like that, yeah.
However, as I put it in my report, a company bought out our athletic registration, our school company, so and we really don't have any other details yet about what that new one is looking like yet, so.
They may or may not
Hopefully,
be
yes.
Yeah, it's just, it's a nice
Yeah.
video. It's well worded and,
Yeah, for sure.
Reed, is women's flag football a high school league sport yet, or not? Or is that just a club? I just
think
see it
it's
all
still
over.
just a club.
Type deal.
And then, is there anyone in our conference or any of the conferences that we play with, are they adding men's volleyball? Most of our schools aren't big enough, I'm assuming.
We haven't
right?
had anybody in HVL that has reached out. I mean, I feel if that were to come, it would be, 2 or 3 other cooperative schools.
Exactly.
Forming something.
Right. Because I think
But it's-
that's taken off quite a bit in the metro, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's also in the spring when it's the busiest time.
Right.
Yeah. In theory, knock on wood, it should be that when the gym is gonna be most available.
Yeah.
So,
All right, any other questions for Reed? All right, then we will move on to reports and communication. Or-
Is there,
Yeah, I was gonna just say, Reed, do we need to do the resolution?
we need to do the resolution approval. Yeah, because I don't think that's later on, is it?
No, I don't have it.
We need to have the resolution approval.
Okay.
First page. Lori, what page is that gonna be on? What part of your agenda? Oh.
Should be the first one.
Yeah. We're thinking the first
Yep.
paragraph?
Resolve, yes.
Yep.
Ready? Resolved that the governing board or entity of Cannon Falls School located in the state of Minnesota delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics to the Minnesota State High School League, so hereby certifies to the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes. Do I need like a yes or no vote for this one?
Yeah,
You need a
roll
first
call.
and a second.
You'll need a roll call.
Okay.
First motion, second, roll call.
Okay.
Okay, look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Jody on the motion, Ronnie on the second. Any further discussion?
So then I'll look for a yes or no vote. Rhonda?
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Luke?
Yes.
Clinton?
Yes.
And myself is yes.
And then tomorrow I will send you an email,
Electronic signature.
the electronic signature piece of it. All right.
All right, now on to reports and communication. Abby is not here. I don't know, we didn't get anything submitted. I'm assuming pretty quiet right now.
No summer student.
Yep. And then we'll go to committee reports. Anyone have anything they'd like to add?
I was in for Jolene for the GCED committee meeting. Just shared that the budget's ahead of schedule and looks good. The fund balance will increase by 20,000 and she's happy with that. They're working on a new phone system. And the other thing is they're group of top 10 for this Wallace grant, which helps foster advancements in art, education, leadership, and youth development. So hopefully they get that.
That is a huge grant if we are able to get
Big.
a hold of that. Yeah, it's very large.
Jason Newman from Zimbrota was interviewed, so he
Yeah.
said it went well and. And that's all I have.
Anything anyone else would like to add? I can add, the finance committee, we did meet, went over the final budget that we will talk about later on here. But then we also just had discussion about the operating levy going out. And the key part was about the current $500 levy that we have in place right now, and discussing if we wanted to look at doing a revoke and replace so we could have the inflationary factor added to that. And the finance committee decided to not do that just because of how complicated that would look on the ballot. So that will remain the same, that we'd be looking at going at that, doing that 950 with the inflation factor and keeping the current 500 in place. Then I guess I will just add on facility side of things that it looks like things are going good down at the elementary with the sidewalk and.
Yeah, it's
Is that-
progressing quite along pretty well. They're doing it in sections and so that we can keep different doors open. They made it through the heat last week and the rain and stuff.
Is it just a sidewalk they're updating?
The aprons, to
Yeah.
the approach to the.
Yeah.
Everything out front that was kind of heaved up and people were tripping.
We had a lot of trip hazards out there that
Yeah.
we had the yellow paint all over the place, so we probably should get that fixed.
It's fair.
I'll add to, the Ed Foundation did meet this last Wednesday. Not a lot to report there. They're wrapping up their fiscal year ends the end of June. Not a lot to report other than I'd like to extend a thank you to Jerry Geiken and Julie Anderson are stepping back from the board. We added 2 new members our last board meeting. We don't know who's going to take over those executive roles, but they've done a lot for that board.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
thank you to both of them for everything that they've done.
All right, I think that'll be good for that. We'll move to administrative board reports. You guys have your reports in front of you with the elementary, middle school tech. Reed, anything you want to add to your report at all?
I think the only thing that I would add is in regards to the tennis courts. We did have the company back out to take a look at them. They started meeting with Stephen and then I showed up partway through. They took some measurements to see if the dimensions for the lines are accurate or not, so they're gonna work on those. And they wanted us to get nets on and get playing in to see if the waving in would start to blend. So nets are up on all 8 courts. We have pickleball lines on the far 2 southeast courts. And then after 2 weeks, we'll see how things are looking, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right, we'll go down to Sue's report.
Yes, I think the only thing that I wanted to add here, Quentin and I talked a little bit before the meeting about the size of the packets here, and I know at one point we talked about the electronic possibilities of either having people bring their own devices to look at, so we're not doing so many printing off. I want to check with Vatua to see what we may have for old devices. I know with our current devices, I don't think we have more than maybe 10 extra district-wide that students rotate out when theirs get broken, and so we need to have those for student replacements. But I want to see what we have maybe for some older devices that are still usable, and if we only access them once a month, we can maybe cut down on some printing costs as well. But I want to do some more investigating of that as well, and if we don't have that, I can probably bring you back cost for cheap devices if you guys are interested in just looking at something for that as well. So if you guys are interested in that, I can bring back some information you enjoy.
Saves on printing cost.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be, I mean, I'm assuming we all probably have a device we could bring in, but I just thought if it, with how inexpensive things are right now, if we have something that stays here, so no one forgets it and whatever else, and, because we were just talking about paper costs, and it would pay for itself relatively quickly.
Yeah, I
So,
bet. Yeah, I'm sure.
So,
Could we do like the agenda printed out still, you know, the 2 or 3 pages, and then do away with the
yeah,
packet?
do away with the packets and stuff.
That way you
Yeah.
have the ability to take notes. I guess if we have a computer, you could do that on a computer, but.
Yeah.
Some of us maybe aren't that tech savvy.
That's why you hit the microphone button and talk into it. It probably wouldn't work good when we're all just talking.
But other than that, it's my reports as printed here too.
Okay, we'll move on to public input. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the board? All right, then we will close public input. Moving on, consideration to approve the finance report. Josh?
Yeah, so what we've got there would be the cash flow goes through mid-September. We've got it through the whole fiscal year in the office, but this is what is easily presentable. Quite a bit of cash on hand, and cash balance is not the same as fund balance, important to understand that, but at the end of May, beginning of June, a lot of cash starts to come into the district. The tax payments, first half property taxes come in. We had the sale of the bond for roof replacement and the tennis court resurface, came in as about $800,000, as well as the energy money that comes in at the end of the fiscal year. What we won't have in the last payment of June and all of July is revenue coming in from the state of Minnesota. The IDEAS payments cut off to almost nothing or very little during that time. Part of it is a cash flow thing because they know that taxes are coming in to offset that loss of revenue. So you see as the sheet goes down, the balance will decline to more normal operations for the district in cash. One of the things that you'll see in the start of August would be debt service payment. Most of what we do, there's 2 payments for each of the, I guess, for lack of better terms, mortgage payments for the district on Fieldhouse, Tram, those sorts of things. There's a principal and interest payment made in January, and then an interest-only payment made in August, and that is represented there by the 2017A, 2017B, 2016A interest notes, so just about $300,000 there. Other than that, it would be pretty much the normal operation of the district. You get payroll that will go in and out, and it's ramping back up of ideas in August. August 15th usually is a cleanup payment. It's partly the first payment of the fiscal year, but it's also the cleanup of the remaining funds from the prior fiscal year. The way the districts are funded is 90-10, 90% of the current fiscal year, and then 10% of the prior fiscal year. So all of, they take some time to clean up as things go through, just as we talk about the revised fiscal 25 budget and audit, things take a while to clean up and go through, so they tend to hold back some funds so that they don't overpay districts and have to pull those dollars back from districts. Any questions? I can do my best to answer.
Any questions for Josh? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the finance report.
I'll make motion.
Jolene on the motion?
Second.
Luke on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Jeff, would you like to read the resolution for acceptance of gifts, please?
Yes, and we want to thank these donors for their generous donations during this past month. $50 from Carrie Levesque for a 5th grade bus buddy appreciation celebration. $300 from Anderson Rock for the school garden. $50, I should say, from Deanne Coleman for fencing, plants, and seeds. $250 from Dawn Turner for football. $120 from the Community Churches Interaction Council for Senior Do Project. $50 from Anonymous for Manufacturing by Design. $700 from the Ed Foundation for Transition Math for Miss Dolan, 9 through 12. $200 from the Ed Foundation for Sensory Tools for Miss Dolan for 9 through 12. $700 from the Ed Foundation for Outdoor Classroom for Miss Dolan, 9 through 12. $5,500 from the Ed Foundation for a Snack Shack, which is a new business I believe that she's going to start up. $308.94 from the Ed Foundation for a World Rug for Coke for 3rd grade for next year. $914.67 from the Ed Foundation for ECFE items for Coles pre-kindergarten. $3,995 from the Ed Foundation for a Courage Retreat for Miss Miller in 7th grade. And then $3,495 from the Ed Foundation for the Kindness Retreat, Miss Molitor, 5th grade. Thank you again for your generosity.
Thank you.
All right, anyone want anything pulled out separately?
I don't need it pulled out, but can you expand on the Snack Shack?
Yeah, please.
Or if you have any details on it?
Oh, I could pull it up on mine.
We briefly talked about it at the Ed Foundation meeting. We don't have a lot. It's a student-run organization
Business,
that's
yeah.
Business to teach. I think it's mostly 10th and 11th graders that are in this group. They did give us kind of a breakdown of who's going to be doing what. That initial investment from the Ed Foundation should start them up, and then it should be self-run. It shouldn't need any more funding, yeah. They're going to be doing a demo on the July meeting, so we'll know more and bring more information. So it's just that startup cost, and then upon approval of that, then they'll bring more information and demo.
Otherwise, they had like a list of ideas, like I'd have snacks and some drinks, like a
So
little,
this is gonna
little coffee corner,
live
something
in the
that's
building?
like,
Correct.
yeah, it's on wheels and it kind of totes
Yep.
around
Yep.
and then like ponytails and hairbrushes, and like
There was
little
some-
extra pencils and whatever, like
Yep.
extra random things too,
Yep.
like stuff like that. So.
They'll maybe keep some supply, but then probably take orders, and maybe the next week, then they'll fulfill those orders from either teachers or
And
students.
then they did talk about like some bomber cool stuff, like
Correct.
bomber stuff, spirit stuff, that type of vibe
Yep,
too.
depending on how it
Yes.
goes. So
Cool.
A super cool
more
idea.
more to come on that,
Yeah.
but it was initially approved by the Ed Foundation,
Yeah.
and then should be able to be self-sustained.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the only other thing I had was, I see there's a whole bunch of new hires and shifting and moving around. Do we know where we stand as far as going into next year's, the school year is? I try to follow it and try to see what positions we have to hire and whatnot, and it's just a lot of moving around and hard to.
There's a lot of movement this time of year.
Yeah.
I believe we still have a fourth grade long-term sub position. We thought we had somebody, but then they got a full-time position in another district, and we thought, well, it's kind of hard to tell them no on that. But I think Stephen was gonna be contacting the other people that they interviewed for that position.
Oh.
And I guess I haven't heard an update on that. And other than that, I believe we have all of our positions filled, other than that one. But we wanna knock on wood when we say that, because sometimes stuff happens and it creates another shifting.
So there were a couple other options though for that fourth grade?
Sounded like it.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, nothing else, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Luke on the motion, Jody on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Action items. There's no old business, we'll get on to new business. Consideration to approve the fiscal year 25 final revised budget. Josh?
Yeah, so as part of process and by statute, we need to have an approval of the final revised budget for current fiscal year that ran by June 30th. So it'll be the final revision. We've had a lot of budget talk in the last few meetings. I believe this one was revised in March. You saw the preliminary budget for 26 last month, and now you're seeing the final revision for 25. So I won't go into too much detail. You guys have heard quite a bit of it. But I think the main points to point out, as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, we get a little bit clearer picture on where numbers are going to fall. There'll still be some cleanup that needs to happen. A lot of the final MARS numbers won't be finalized until even October, and the audit will need to clean up some of those things. Everything that is done in the district is based on pupils, so any significant change on that could affect this, but this is our best shot at being as accurate as we can at this moment. The big point, I guess, to point out in general fund, that's going to be where the majority of our operations are occurring, and really the one that we are honing in on the most. You'll see a slight gain. Really, in terms of that sort of dollar amount, when you're talking $50 million, that's a balanced budget. It was not going to move the needle much on our undesignated fund. We came in at about 3.3%. It's moved slightly, not anything that's been significant, but it is better than being negative for sure. It will have everything that is kind of occurred throughout the fiscal year. Most of what we've done is kind of complete. We do have payroll that will occur in the next fiscal year that will be accounted for in fiscal 25, so it's not 100% final in terms of what payroll has gone out, but it is included in the budget in these dollars. Food service, we stay slightly positive, which is a good thing, until we had gotten to having free reduced lunches, or lunches provided. There were times where the district was having to support food service with the transfer from the general fund. That hasn't been the case for several years. We've actually been able to do some nice improvements in food service and stay on top of that. With this budget and where things came from, we are not able to transfer as much fuel utilities back to food service, allocate there, but we're able to keep the food service positive and the fund balance for that fund positive. Community ed is doing fairly well. A lot of that has to do with increases in revenue, both price and number of kids in those areas. But while we show a positive balance here, the overall fund balance for community ed is negative. It is moving in the right direction. As we've talked about many times, whether it be community ed advisory or audit talks or budget talks, community ed is allowed to be in deficit. It's something we want to make sure we're keeping an eye on, striving towards being positive. It is seen really as a feeder to the general program and really a community service for our community to our citizens. So it is something that we want to make sure we're supporting. We want to make sure that we're going forward. We are able to do an allocation of utilities to community ed this year and still remain with that positive balance of community ed. The construction gets cleaned up. It's finally now, I think you've seen it now for 3 years, the CTE HVAC project. But that finally wraps everything up at the end of the fiscal year. So while that is a negative, it just means that we're closing that balance down to zero. The debt service, historically in Gutu County, the taxes are collected reasonably well. They set the levy to receive at 105%, assuming that there's going to be some sort of delinquent tax. And we tend to do very well in terms of that portion of it. So it's not odd to see a deficit in debt service as some of those dollars are going back to the taxpayers and helping to offset that. That's really where those dollars belong. They're for the debt service. They were overcollected. They need to go back to taxpayers. So to see a deficit there is not an alarm at all. We're set to fulfill our debt obligations. The last one, trust and agency. For a long time, that was just scholarships. We also have some Innovation Lab Gemini funds that are carried over in there. Some other big donations from some individuals that we will make sure carry over in there, as well as the scoreboard account. Funds are carried over in there. So those are really set to offset themselves. If it were a general fund item without setting up a specific reserved account for that, we can't carry those dollars over, so we keep those in that trust agency so those funds can be rolled over to the next fiscal year and then used as those programs are needed instead of having to try to make do at the end of the fiscal year. So kind of the short version of it. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer them for you.
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment on that community service. That's a huge deal that we're able to get that back positive, because there's been many years where that's been $100,000 deficit at
Yeah,
times.
so we'll still be, the fund balance itself, the community fund balance will be negative, but we have been well over 6 figures negative there, and this should push us closer into that 60, 65.
Sure.
So, moving in the right direction.
Well, I'd say moving in the direction of big way, right?
Yep, and, you know, if we don't allocate funds from community ed to help cover some utilities and fuel, it'd make that number a little bit better. In the end, we have to really support that general fund as well and keep an eye on that. So when we're able to do so, we want to make sure that we're mining all the pots that we can. But I think it's important that we move that to community ed in that positive direction and still keep an eye on where we need to be up for general fund.
I had a question on the trust and agency on the scoreboard. When those funds come in, right, so like the gym has basketball and volleyball, and then softball has their own now, right, and then football, it comes all together and everybody shares that, or is the softball get specific, whatever they, you know, if they have 6 spots, they get that?
No,
No.
programs do not get that.
Okay.
That goes to things that we need to purchase, whether that's for facility stuff, or for example, Huddle is coming out of that.
So everything comes into one, and then you make recommendations on what is needed for the programs? Thank you.
Huddle comes out of it, though,
Like, for
right?
example, a couple things that we're looking at is Zim needs to replace hurdles, or we've looked at different 5-row bleachers for or benches at the tennis, or any of those types of things.
Yeah.
Or if we need to make any improvements, fixes to scoreboards, or to pay for the next scoreboard, is all out of that.
Yeah, so that's where I go with, initially when it started up, that we started doing the 5-year payment options to pay for a scoreboard, but didn't keep charging, even though the scoreboard's been paid for,
Right.
but then that's why you keep building a fund balance, and now we can keep updating things and keep things on track.
Are there opportunities for other, whether it's soccer or tennis, to replicate what we've done? And
Soccer has them.
Soccer has them, but are there other avenues that would bring in more revenue that we currently aren't doing?
We could look at something tennis, but that would have to, we have to get creative, meaning if we wanted to sell something, you know, we have the one windscreen that came out of that budget last year, or that account last year. If we did something more and we wanted to sell more ads to put on that, that could be something that we could look at in the future, because there's really no scoreboard for tennis.
Right. Naming rights for the gym?
It's always a possibility if you can find a company.
Yeah.
Is there availability for more supporters for the scoreboards to be added on to?
We did add a second row down to John Birch for football last year.
Okay.
And had to get the approval from the city to do that, which we did. If we looked at adding anything else to our current structure, then we'd have to take a look at, do we have enough strength and support to hold all those, and so it doesn't become essentially a wind sail. You know, as we continue to talk about facilities and what that looks like, we want to do something for softball in regards to some type of a grandstand and press box. We want to do something as similar for soccer out behind the elementary. We'd like to get more of a varsity board for soccer there as well. And then, you know, really the one at the stadium is really kind of the next one that of what that's going to look like.
I was gonna say that one is in terrible
Yeah,
condition.
yeah. But
you never know the guest score.
correct.
I would think baseball, there'd be some opportunity on that score. There's nothing on there currently. We used to, back in the day, have like, I think Coke or Pepsi was on there.
Yeah.
On the baseball
Back in the
score.
day, Coke would donate the whole scoreboard.
Sure.
They had that in
Yeah,
there.
because I know there's a fund set up to help pay for the next scoreboard when that goes out, but I don't know if there's opportunities to just help pay for that when that happened.
When this started several years ago, we had talked about, I don't know if it was at admin or what committee level it was, but we had talked about we were only gonna do sponsorships on varsity boards, not JV boards.
Yeah, I meant John Birch Park is where I was headed for baseball.
But we don't own that board, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, softball and soccer though, I mean, that's definitely room for growth and getting some stuff up there for those guys, and definitely opportunities there for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions for Josh at all? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 final revised budget.
Make motion.
Thank you. I have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead, Randy.
Randy in a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve fiscal year 26 property work comp and cyber insurance renewal. Yep.
I'm going to defer to Josh.
Josh?
We go through Freewood Insurance, their agent. They put together the quote, a lot of package that we put information together with. The school insurance business has gotten to be a little bit tougher, so we just have the one quote here from Liberty. We were with Liberty this past fiscal year, fiscal 25. The year prior to that, it was Hanover, and the last time we got a competitive quote from them, it was quite a bit higher than what Liberty's was last year. So it is a significant increase. It is an amount that when I built the 26 preliminary budget, it is inside of that to fit in there, but it does take all of it. But it really is something we gotta make sure that we are protecting our buildings. $240,000 for the property insurance for the quote. You see it, how it's broken down there. To the right would be last year's amounts. You can see the increase. The work comp stayed fairly level from the prior year. And then slide down one more would be cyber, and that stays relatively the same. But overall, just under $300,000 for property, work comp, and cyber insurance. It's about $5,000 increase from the prior year. Like I said, this does fit inside of the fiscal 26 budget. It does do, there's more square footage now. The CTHVAC project is complete, so there's more square footage. We've also updated the replacement cost to a more realistic standard to what it is now if something were to be catastrophic. So those are parts of the increases to the property insurance, but we also see it in our own homes where our property insurance is gone, and that's reflected in this as well. So, any other questions I can certainly answer?
Josh, do you recall, so last year we had Liberty again, but do you recall how many quotes we had, or?
We usually, if, at most we get two. Hanover and Liberty have been, I think when pre-works go out, they're shopping a little bit to get where they quote as well.
Sure.
It's been a while since we've done, I guess, that process of going through pre-work as the agent. It has been a while since we expanded that out. Rates have increased quite a bit in the last, I think, 4 years. This amount has doubled. It's been 5 years, and 5 years ago when this was under $100,000 for this total package. But again, square footage, replacement cost, and then just the market in terms of itself. It's done significant increases to that market.
Thank you.
Sounds like everything keeps going up besides what we get.
Yep.
That is a correct statement.
Perfect.
All right, we'll look for a motion to approve the Liberty Mutual quote for the fiscal year 26 property work comp and cyber insurance renewal.
I'll move to approve that.
Rondi on the motion.
I'll second.
Jody on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 milk proposal. Will you help me with that one?
Good news, milk went down.
Milk did go down.
Yes.
It based it off of the prior year's usage, so it is a slight decrease. Really, that top portion right there, the summary, is really all that you probably need to have to make your decision. The rest is just information based on how it breaks down on how we use milk. And then the bottom portion would just kind of show the milk usage over the last few years. In terms of the amount of milk, it is going to be a decrease over the last 5 years in what's being consumed, but it could be attributed to a couple of different things. We go to 5-gallon bags now, so maybe there's not as much waste to it. There definitely are probably fewer lunches going out. It would be a portion of that. But it's just kind of there for information. Again, really, the part that you need to have to make your decision is that top portion. We did only have one company bid. It's the current vendor that we have, Prairie Farms, and it does come in at slightly less. Now, like most milk bids, it's based on escalator clause, so if the price of milk goes up, that changes, or goes down, that changes. And this is also a consumable, so if there's more consumption of milk, that price would go up. But in terms of how we used milk last year, projected out, it is a slight decrease.
So I know we get our milk a different way than a lot of other schools do by getting it in bulk and whatever else. Do we, when it comes to reimbursement, is it a set amount per lunch? Is that
For
pretty?
full meal.
Yeah.
And milk is just one component that's required to be on that tray. So not every tray will go out with the milk on it.
Right, but we get paid as if they.
Yep. And we no longer do milk break at the elementary for all grades. So that has something to do with less usage. Next year we'll have more usage because we have, 9 less days in this calendar?
Oh.
Because of the revac and
Sure.
snow days and stuff.
Do we know if we make anything off of this, or do we lose, or on how it balances out?
I think it has been a winner for us.
Sure.
Definitely taste-wise.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Because we're at Cartons now with the summer lunch program.
Oh.
Big difference. What do we do?
And when
We have a lot of field trips. We can't have bulk in the summer.
Sure. When we went to the 5-gallon bags, wasn't that cheaper too, anyway?
It is,
So we had, was that in?
We had 5-gallon bags that year, so that's apples to apples.
But when we, in the year previous, do we remember what that difference was, if that saving? No.
I don't remember. I think you have it on there, don't you?
Yeah, it's slightly on just a little bit. You can see.
Calculated out by what a serving would be.
Yep. The carton's 32.9 cents for a chocolate, whereas
oh, okay.
You got to build that for the carton, so.
But I also think where the biggest savings comes in is the waste.
Yeah.
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 They only get what they.
27 cents It's essentially 5 cents less per serving for the
Yeah.
bulk than it is for the pint.
And like Lori said, a lot better tasting.
A lot better.
I don't drink milk and I'll even tell you it's a lot better.
All right, I'd look for a motion to approve the 25-26 milk proposal.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Luke on the motion, Joe Lynn on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the resolution relating to determining the necessity of approving a new referendum revenue authorization and calling a special election thereon. Jeff?
We talked earlier about the finance committee. This resolution was passed through the finance committee last week, I believe it was. We had a good discussion around, is this the right resolution? One option that we had was to take the current $500 operating levy and add inflation to it. This resolution does not do that. This is a simple, basically it's another operating levy that that we will be creating at $9.50 with inflation. So the question is in the resolution, and it will read as a simple, straightforward, do you approve adding $9.50 with inflation? Creating an operating levy that way, instead of having the revoke and replace language, which I think has been confusing for a lot of people. And plus, we won't, because when you do the revoke and replace, the total amount will go up to $14.50. That might confuse some people also, because the actual increase that we're looking for is $9.50. And, you know, people may think they were trying to increase it by $14.50. So, we felt, or the committee, I should say, felt that the trade-off of not adding inflation to that $500 and doing a revoke and replace was well worth it to cut down on the confusion in the ballot box when they get in there, or in the voting booth, I should say. So therefore, we're recommending the resolution as it states here.
Any questions on that?
Just a question on how it reads here, the bold at the bottom. Do we have to have both of those on there? You know, it seems like it's just screaming it in everyone's face that we're, they both have to have.
Yeah, we do.
And they both have to be bold like that, and they both have to be. Just checking.
Go fine print. We can't fine print those, unfortunately. The state of Minnesota doesn't allow that in their election.
Bunch of little asterisks.
Bullet point at the back of the
Yeah,
ballot.
it's pretty bad when it's resulting in an increase in your property taxes is actually larger than the question.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Perfect.
We don't get to choose our question font size.
No. That is all very well prescribed.
Print that in white.
That's a great idea. Do they talk about color?
And this is a resolution, so it will need to be
So maybe the
read.
first two paragraphs, or what? Oh,
Can I ask a question first, just to make sure I'm understanding it? So if you're taking, so the increase of $9.50 doesn't mean that they're gonna be charged $9.50, is that correct, based on this? For example, let's say 300,000, it's only gonna go up 262?
Correct,
Is that-
$9.50 per pupil.
Per pupil.
Yeah, so that's what the
I
school
think that's
receives.
where people get confused, because they're seeing the $9.50 instead of what it actually could be. You know, your house is at 300,000, that's 262, not 950. And I think people read that as.
How the verbiage is.
Yeah. And that's where it's hard.
And we do that, we explain that in public meetings.
Yeah.
about This is the tax impact. You know, you're not paying $950 per family, you're paying what your value of your house or your business
You
is.
just get so many running with the 950 or
Yeah.
whatever the amount is, and, okay.
And that's
Just
where
wanted
those,
to
that's where
clarify.
those conversations out in the community need to happen.
Yeah.
If you hear that, we need to correct it,
Mhm.
obviously, and have them tell 10 of their friends
Yeah.
that this is what it means, and have those conversations, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, first I look for a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Ronnie on the motion.
Nope, Jody.
Or Jody, sorry.
Oh, Ronnie on the second.
Ronnie on the second. And clerk, I'll let you take her away.
Be it resolved by the school board of Independent School District number 252, Minnesota, as follows. It is hereby found, determined, and declared as follows. The board has investigated the facts and does hereby find, determine, and declare that it is necessary and expedient to increase the school district's general education revenue by $950 per pupil, subject to an annual increase at the rate of inflation. The proposed new referendum revenue authorization would be first levied in 2025 for taxes payable in 2026 and applicable for 10 years unless otherwise revoked or reduced as provided by law. The question on the approval of the new referendum revenue authorization of the school district shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the school district at a special election, which is hereby called and directed to be held on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Am I looking for a yes or no? This resolution, Lori? Am I looking for
It
yes
is
or
a
no?
resolution,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll take a yes or no vote from Rondi.
Yes.
Jody?
Yes.
Luke?
Yes.
Clinton?
Yes.
And myself is a yes.
Okay, moving on to number 5. Consideration to approve the 24-25 calendar adjustment recognizing snow days. Student days to 165. I don't know if that, should I read her all out? Closed February 18th and March 5th.
Yep, so those are the 2 days that we closed school this year due to inclement weather, and this is a yearly item, and we adjust our calendar, recognizing those 2 days as, yes, we did close school, and we adjusted our student count days. So just need a simple approval of that.
Look for a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Jolynn on the motion.
I'll second.
Jody on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 elementary student handbook.
The changes are listed in the document. There's about 6 or 7 different items that Stephen listed out there as the changes and where those pages are located at. Nothing too big on there. So we do recommend approval on that.
Any questions at all for Jeff on the changes? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the 25-26 student handbook changes. For the student handbook.
I'm moved to approve.
Luke on the motion.
I'll second.
Jody on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 coaches and advisors handbooks.
This is pretty much the same, and I believe Reed did strike-throughs.
Just a few changes. The year, the board information, the uniform rotation, so that is updated. And then we added a few more items on the end of season report on the back end. So very minor, otherwise nothing else has changed.
This is silly, but some of the emails are from past board members. We just probably want to update those.
Oh, so we have the
Oh.
names updated because
Bob
the
is Quentin.
emails.
and
Oh, funny.
Brad is Pete.
We'll make sure Reed changes.
By all means, send all your complaints to Bob.
I will get those updated. Thank you for catching that.
A super random question, but when you do like the head coach evaluation, who looks over all of those? Is it just you?
Just the head coach, right?
Just curious.
Yep. Head coach does the evaluations on all their assistants, and then the head coach and I go over those. We go over the end of season report, we go over the survey data for both the parent guardians and the student participants, and then we go over their head coach evaluation.
Any other questions for Reed on that? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the 25-26 coaches and advisors handbook.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Randy on the motion, Jolyn on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 middle school, high school student handbook and the 25-26 behavior matrix.
So Tim did pretty much the same thing. He outlined his handbook changes, and I believe he actually showed them in his strikeouts on his actual document, and student behavior expectation and consequences for misbehaviors are also listed in there as well.
And this needs email correction too.
What's that?
This needs email correction too.
Oh, it does. All right. Lori, can you email Tim and notify him?
For the school board members.
Somebody must have copied and pasted.
That's a really old one. Anna Olson's on that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bill,
Oh, yeah.
look at us, we're catching stuff.
At least have the names in there correct.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just amazing when you forgot the emails.
Just looking at Tim's, my only question would be, the backpack thing?
Yeah, I was gonna ask too.
Yeah.
Is that, what, do you know what struck that as a
I
change?
believe that was staff guided.
Yeah.
Distractions.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I was one of the people that kind of spearheaded it.
Sure.
If you come into my room, they're all over the place, and I'm stepping on them, tripping on them. They're really becoming a hazard. You know, and the original reason why we didn't want them in there were for safety reasons. And then, of course, we had COVID, which we all understand that, but COVID is over now. There were literally times, just about every single day this year, where I'd say to kids, "Where are your books?" They'd say, "Well, they're in my locker." "Well, go get them." "I don't know my combo." They don't ever go to their lockers anymore.
Oh, boy.
And their backpacks are, I don't know how some of them aren't falling over in the hallway, like literally backwards, because they're tremendously heavy. And so I would say of the survey that I sent out, 15 teachers said, we need them out of the classroom. They're basically a hazard for
You said
teachers.
before COVID, that was what we did, is we didn't have backpacks?
Right, because there's always that fear that something is gonna be placed in that backpack. So
Sure.
part of our whole Alice and safety and backpacks were supposed to be in the lockers.
I can attest to the heaviness of
I was just gonna
the-
speak to that
the
too.
bags
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe some kids forgetting locker combinations. Certain
Locker
freshman girls.
location.
Oh, that too.
Location and
And
combination.
location, yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know there's a couple of kids I know that didn't use their locker all year.
Yeah.
And their backpacks are heavy. I go to move them off my kitchen floor and it
True
take out
story,
my bag.
my daughter told me to get something out of her locker. She told me where it was at, the locker number, completely wrong, and didn't know the combination.
Seems like a good change, though.
Are we gonna hurt the chiropractor business then?
Yeah, well, we might, but that is, I mean, that bag, I struggled, I mean, it's well over 50 pounds of books, and, you know, maybe more than 2 books she had this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to have some wall reinforcement done at our house.
It broke one of our hooks.
So, good change.
Did you install the hook?
No, I did not. We did not buy the right type of hook. We put up there initially, but we got reinforcements.
All right, any other questions on that? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the 25-26 middle school, high school student handbook.
I'll move to approve.
Luke on the motion.
A second.
Jolynn on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of the Invenergy dollars.
So, every year, we have this discussion on whether to continue using the Invenergy dollars for facility items as they were initially intended to when the district first received them. It's been well over 10 years ago. 18 years ago. They originally used for the elementary roof installation, and then when that was finally paid off, the board decided to use them for facility items within the district. It's roughly $150,000 each year, and we just want to confirm if that is okay to continue to use them that way. We will continue to do that and plan for that next fiscal year. And I would recommend doing that.
We were talking earlier before the meeting, we got about 2 years. 2 years
So
left.
there's a 20-year agreement. We have fiscal 26 and fiscal 27 that will still receive those dollars. In total, it ends up, there's a direct negotiated part with the school and Invenergy, $210,000 a year for that time stretch. They'll receive a portion from the city. That payment started at $82,500, and it had an inflationary portion to it. Our last check that we got was $133,000. So it ends up being about in the ballpark of $350,000 in Invenergy dollars. When we talk about the $150,000, when we first got those funds, we had to do a roof replacement at the elementary school, and the payment on that was about $150,000. The remaining of the Invenergy dollars goes into undesignated just to help with the general fund. And then $150,000 that was earmarked for the elementary roof payment. It kind of, once that payment finished, it kind of became onus on the board to keep using those funds for facility type items. We have a lot of our LTFM tied up in the UNESCO project, and so it just kind of made sense to be able to use and have an avenue to still do some facility type items. So we just come back each year with the board, blessing to make sure that we can still do that.
That's also one huge thing to keep on the radar here. So fiscal year 28, that
will be no funds. Yeah.
So basically, by that time, with a couple more years of inflationary, you're what are we at, 350 right now?
Just under 350, yeah.
So it'll be 360, something like that.
Yep.
But those direct payments will be turned over to the tax rosters, so, but we're not sure if we're going to get all of them.
Yeah, I don't know that we get that same sort of kick from them. I would need to talk to Mickey at Goodhue County to see where that would fall once they've on the tax roll, how much would the district expect to receive. But there will be most likely a significant loss in revenue for the district on that. It just makes it may highlight a little bit more, maybe the importance of the referendum for one, but also other opportunities if something else were to come to the district, to make sure that we are good partners with something like that, maybe a data center potentially. But it had been a nice option for the district. At the time, they needed to have the support of the county, the city, and the school in order for it to happen. We were going to get offered relatively peanuts compared to what we got at the time, but it ended up being negotiated at a nice deal for the district, and it has helped offset for the elementary roof for sure, but again, for our ability to do some facility type items with those funds as you have them. But it will come to an end at fiscal 28, yeah.
Is that something, that difference, is that something we can ask the county here soon?
I can check in with
try to figure out.
to see if we were able to get an estimate of what.
Yeah, right.
That could be potentially that would happen, but they may be able to give me some sort of estimation.
Thank you.
So this really isn't an action item, is it?
I think just to continue using them the way we're using them would be probably the action item.
Okay. If not, I'd look for a motion to be continuing to use the energy dollars the way that we have been using for facility purposes.
I'll move to approve, to continue.
Luke on the motion,
I'll second.
Jody on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Page 3, this is way too long. Consideration to approve the 25-26 John Birch Park agreement with the city of Cannon Falls.
This is a yearly agreement. A few years back, we did not have anything written down, and so the city administrator and myself at the time decided to make sure that we have agreements. We have an agreement to use the John Birch Park, and they have an agreement to use our tennis facilities. And that's what the next two agreements cover. And nothing really to change in there besides the date on what we've been able to accomplish over the past few years since this has been implemented. So I recommend approval.
Basically, to kind of sum it up, $7,500 a year, and then some additional costs when you use the lights and such, right?
Yeah.
They've been a good partner forever. Fair.
I believe if things get overly damaged and whatever else, the school has helped out in the past and whatever else is needed if there's over excessive.
Yep. Yeah, the city and us have had good relationships in the use of the facilities, at least since I've been here.
All right, any other questions on that? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the 25-26 John Birch Park agreement with the city of Cannon Falls.
I'll make a motion.
Jolyn on the motion.
I'll second.
Rondi on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 tennis court agreement with the city of Cannon Falls.
And this would be for our end, and they will approve that at the city's end at some point, hopefully, in the near future. Recommend approval.
I'll make a motion.
Jody on the motion.
Second.
Luke on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the 25-26 Cannon Valley Senior Center Facility Agreement.
This updated agreement reflects the budget considerations that we took earlier on this year, and there is a $1,000 per month rental agreement due the first of every month, which they have agreed to. And Clinton and I did meet with the group probably a couple months ago. They were planning on presenting tonight, but there was a funeral that came up that the presenter could not make it tonight, and they are looking to reschedule, so I will see when that can get rescheduled.
And they're good with approving this before they present?
Yep. Yep. They've already actually signed their end of it, so.
Good deal.
Yep, so just recap, this was it was nothing, and now we are charging something. It might look at it like a big increase to them, especially coming from nothing, but at the same point, both Tammy and Reed helped kind of put together a mock fee of what it would be for what the for everything that they do use and the time that they do use it, and what their costs would be if it was affiliated with Cannon Falls, and that does end up being like around $4,000 a month. So we're still giving this at quite a discounted rate, and we're trying to be fair to our community members. We do value everything that they do and contribute to our school, with whether it's the Book Buddies program or their scholarship that they give, or multiple other things that they help with in town. So personally, I think this is a fair compromise.
Yeah, I think in my conversations too, you know, we've, through our financial situation, we've had to take things away from students and staff, and,
Yep.
and while we appreciate the seniors, this, I hope this isn't viewed as a, you know, we gotta get it from somewhere, but we've had to do it to our students, which is our most important body, right, in the district, and so to allow them to use our facilities for free just couldn't happen anymore. So, you know, I hope that they can understand that. So.
Well, and also in an effort to not remove it altogether, I think it's appropriate to, you know, charge something, but be fair.
We're hoping we don't have to remove it altogether.
Yeah.
So a lot will determine on the vote in November.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
Well, I'll make a motion.
All right, Jolynn on the motion to approve the 25-26 Cannon Valley Senior Center Facility Agreement.
I'll second.
Randy on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. All right, this is going to be the end of the open session. We are going to be moving into a closed session to discuss the superintendent's end of the year evaluation. Once that is over, we are going to adjourn. If you want to stick around for that, you surely can. What else? I would kindly ask everyone to get out of our air-conditioned environment.